Hello everyone, this is Kaelyn with My Porch Prints, and today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on how you can put together this pink Halloween Traveler's Notebook Kit. Now you might be wondering what Traveler's Notebook Kit means. Sometimes you'll see it referred to as TN size, and it's talking about the size of the actual journal itself. So this is approximately 4.25 by 8.5 inches when it's folded. So here I have my cover page and my inside pages. Now for the cover page, I just picked a page that I liked best from the kit and printed it out on both sides on cardstock. So I ran it through the printer once on cardstock, flipped it over, and then ran it through again to print something on the back side. And for the inside pages, I did the same thing, but on paper instead of cardstock. So I ran through all my journal pages on paper, flipped them over, ran them through again on the other side with more journal pages. If you want to, you can also use the printable papers that come with the kit on the other side of your journal pages. It's up to you, whatever you prefer. So when I'm assembling this, I'm going to have my cover page, my inside pages, and then I'm also going to be including these folding cards that come with the kit. It's up to you if you want to sew them in or not. I'm choosing to sew them in today. And the way that I'm going to be doing that is using a pamphlet stitch. And we have this page hole punch guide that's included with the kit to help you when you're putting your pamphlet stitch into your journal. So I'm going to cut this guide out, and when I come back, I'll show you how we assemble this. All right, so now that we have our guide all cut out, we're going to start by punching out these little holes. And I'm going to be using this Crocodile Big Bite hole punch. If you want, you could also use anything sharp, a needle, or you could use an awl like this to punch out those holes. So let's do that. And then once we have our holes punched, we're going to just fold along this dotted line. So what you should end up with is something that looks like this. All right, so as we're getting ready to assemble our journal, you'll want to make sure that you have your pages lined up and then also right side up throughout the journal and in the order that you want. There's no right or wrong order for the journal pages. It's just however you want them to be inside the journal. And you can also add in, if you're going to be sewing in your folding cards, which I will be doing today, we're going to disperse them out throughout the journal. Before I do that, I'm going to be adding a rounded edge. This one has its own decorative edge on it. But for these, I'm going to be rounding the corners on them. And you can do that for all the pages in your journal if you want to, but I'm just going to be doing it on these two cards here. And to do that, I'm going to be using this corner rounding punch. It has 3 different settings, small, medium, and large. I'm going to be using medium. And you'll just put the corner of your page in there, line it up, and punch. See that? So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of the corners. All right, so now we have our edges rounded. This would also be a good time to ink the edges of your pages if that's something you want to do. We use just this distress ink. But to save time today, I'm not going to be inking the edges. So I'm going to take our little folding cards and add them in throughout the journal wherever I think they would look best. So, and keep in mind, we're also going to be adding pockets and other ephemera later as well. So let me see here. I think I'll have this one as my center of my journal because I like that scalloped edge. Now here you can see we want our lines to go horizontal for writing. On this one, we accidentally printed them going vertical, but accidents happen and it's okay. So we're just going to be using it today. All right, so now we've got all of our pages the way that I want them. I've got my edges rounded. If I wanted to ink them, I would have done that. And we're ready to start doing our pamphlet stitch. So I'm going to show you how we can do that. When using our guide, we want to start by making sure all of the pages are lined up and centered. And that includes the little journal cards that we added in earlier. You can check this by lining up your guide, and you want to make sure that all 3 holes are going to be centered on the page. So we don't want one kind of hanging off. We want them all to be hitting the page. Okay, so that's looking good. And then I'm going to go to the center of my journal. And line up this page as well. I'm going to secure that as well. It's okay to take your time on this because we don't want to get off when we're sewing in our pages. So I'm going to bring this close so you can see all of the holes are hitting this center page and everything is aligned. So then we're going to secure our guide. Again, I'm just double checking here. The issue that you can run into if you're not aligned is that you may have a hole, instead of it being in the very center of the journal, it may end up slightly off to one side. And that's not the end of the world. You can still assemble your journal, but it can just make it a little bit more difficult. So now we're going to mark inside of the holes before we punch. I'm just doing that with some pencil. And then we can remove this guide. And I'm going to be using the Big Bite punch to punch out those holes. All right, I think we've got our holes aligned pretty good, maybe not quite perfect, but very close. And so now we're gonna go ahead and sew. All right, to begin our pamphlet stitch, we're gonna start by using this bookbinding kit. We got this one off of Amazon, and we'll include a link down below in the video description, along with a link to all of our other craft supplies. To begin, I'm going to pick the wax string that I feel matches the journal best. I like this warm toned brown. And we're gonna use 4 times the length of the journal. So let me show you what I mean. So going down 1, 2, 3, and back up 4. It doesn't have to be exact, but what we want is to have plenty of string to help keep our journal together when we're sewing it in. Cut that there, and I'll show you the next steps. To begin our pamphlet stitch, we're going to start by taking our string and threading it through our needle. See how many tries it takes me to get this. And we're going to leave about a 4 to 6 inch tail. We may adjust this a little bit later. And then we're going to start by flipping the journal over and going from back to front, from the back of the journal to the front in this middle hole. And we're going to pull it most of the way, but leaving some, actually I might leave a little extra, leaving some in the back. And then we're going to go through the top hole and out the back again. And then all the way down to this bottom hole, going back to front. And then again through this middle hole, front to back. So now we can take our needle off of our thread. And what we want is we want these 2 strings to be fairly even. You can see that this one is a lot taller than this one. So I'm just going to do some adjusting with the string so that they're both closer to the same length. And I want to make it clear that you want your string to be on either side of this middle string. Okay, so you can see it's on either side of this center string. So now we're going to tie a triple knot around that center string to secure our signature. 1. And you wanted to make sure, I forgot this step, but you want to make sure that your string is fairly tight in here. You don't want it super loose on this other side. And it looks good. So 1 knot, 2, and 3. And the reason that we wanted all of this extra string is so that we can take our journal, fold it in half, and now we can tie it closed in that kind of traveler's journal style. So now it's time to put together our folio pocket. And to start, we're going to take pocket A and we're going to fold along tab A on this line here. I've already scored this ahead of time. And then we're going to take some glue, and we're going to glue along the tab A flap. And then this is panel B, and we're going to attach it to our tab A flap, just like this. So once that's starting to dry, we're going to glue panel B completely shut. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our journal and we're going to glue pocket A inside our journal like this, with the panel B attached off to the side. And then we have these corresponding pocket pieces that match up with different parts of our folio pocket. So we're going to take those and create some pockets. You'll want to make sure that you're careful to line things up so that they match as closely as possible. So what we end up with is something that folds into our journal and then folds out, and you can have pieces of ephemera that can tuck at different places in our folio pocket. So now let's add this trifold piece into our journal. This is cool because it can go on either side, the left or the right, folding out like this, or if you put it on this side, it would fold out like this. It can go either way. And we're just gonna take this back edge here and glue it. Make sure that you glue on this side and then around, or you can possibly leave an edge open to make a tuck point. I'm just gonna glue the whole thing in. And then line it up with the edge of your journal. And then glue it down. And then that just folds into our journal. And we can secure it with a paper clip if you don't want it to be popping up. Secure it just like that. And then when it comes time, you can just take that off and it'll fold out. And it has a little bit of writing space on the back here. All right, it's time for the fun part, decorating the journal. And so just a reminder, there is a lot of awesome stuff that comes with this kit. If you're making just a one signature journal, keep in mind that it can get really full really fast. So you may not want to use everything in the kit. Pick your favorite pieces. Otherwise, you could make multiple journals, or you can make multiple signatures. It's totally up to you. Let's take a look at this Pink Halloween Traveler's Notebook size journal kit. And that's it. Thanks for taking a look at this journal with me today. Hope you enjoyed it.